So with Mr. Ozzy, ready, sir? We're going to do a little bit with some of our weights versus our stays. So I like to have two distinct behaviors. So stay is stay there until I come and get you. And we're building value and not moving. And I typically have a release word for when they're all done with their stay. With the weight, for example, that's they tend to hold back physically and then you call them to you. So you're actually reinforcing movement to you or the recall again to you as well. And then typically with the wait, you might pair it with like wait before being fed or wait before going out of the doorway, wait before hopping out of the car. So there's a couple of great venues for wait. Stay, I tend to pair for stay there and I'm going to come back and get you. So it could be a really good safety scenario, or it could also be working with a dog bed or a cot, which we did a little bit last time. And we're going to practice a bit of both. So right now I'm just keeping Mr. O a little busy while I'm blabbing. But then we're going to go into working a little bit with, for example, or you could drop them, work a little bit with your weight. So with the weight behavior, I like to get my puppy in front of me. Ready, Ozzy? He's like, lady, he's like hoping that I maybe throw some more goodies. He loves his find its and he was liking the pattern games too. So we'll get a little sit. He's like, I'm melting. Do you need to go get water? Are you good? So if, for example, he's a little bit of a wiggly worm, we did sneak out for a potty break, but I might see how he's doing. Oh, nope, he's going good right here. Beautiful. So if your babes are ever really tired, don't force the situation. So there might be a moment where you thought you were going to work on something and maybe it doesn't pan out. Maybe the pup is too overtired. Maybe the environment's too challenging. So I'm going to try a little wait with him. So I normally do one finger wait a moment versus palm open sort of stay. So I don't care if the puppy sits or downs. Frankly, in the beginning, I just want him to hold back until I call him forward. So I would remind Mr. O, so because I blabbed for a little bit, I'm going to tell him to wait. And then I'm going to have him hold back for a second or two. And then I might go, Ozzy, come, and call him to that. Nice. So in the beginning, I very much so visually look a certain way for the recall. There's the crumb we lost earlier in the crack. So, but we may find for him is eventually he'd want to get this comfortable with hand or verbal cues as well versus always having the hand drop. Ready? Ozzy. So I'm going to get his attention. Ready? I'm going to try to hone in on that cute little sniffer of his. He's like, lady, I am so tired. And two, don't worry if it's not the most beautiful thing you've ever done all the time. A lot of times as your babes are getting a little bit flustered or tired, they may not do quite as lovely. So again, right here, I'm going to tell him to wait. I might just have him hold back a second or two, and then Ozzy, come. So, but I would practice rotation through sometimes sitting, sometimes standing. Mr. Hanson says, don't forget about me. And then we might have it where, again, you want to rotate so it's not always looking exactly the same. So let me just throw a few little tidbits for the wilds. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to toss them over here. I know Mr. O might come follow me too. We'll toss a couple little tidbits. And I'm sorry I'm out of range a little bit. Just trying to get this little wild monkey to do a few other little skills. And then I just got to grab a little bit of the goodies Mom brought because we're running a little bit low. So I'm sorry I'm out of camera range slightly. I'm just restocking with some of the good stuff because we were getting to more of the little crunchies. Here we go. And it is nice to have a little trail mix, which is great. Everybody's been doing a real nice job with their goodies. So let's say with Mr. O again, we're going to rock maybe one more little lovely wait. Ready? Right here, sir. We'll get a little check-in, so we'll get a little sit. And two, you'll see that when he gets tired, he's more of like a little pass on by, and he's got to find the crumbs he lost earlier. But ready? If I lose him, I go right to his little sniffer. I maybe don't ask over and over. I'm just going to see if I can get him to settle into a little sitting position. He's like, I really like snacks, but I'm also really tired. So if you're sometimes getting some of this jumping, remember that this could be, I'm fatigued, I'm a little confused, I maybe don't quite grasp all of this concepts all the time. So we're going to get a little sit. He's like, my brain melted. And again, we're just going to let him slide. So the perfect real world situation where sometimes your puppies will offer behavior that you're maybe not a huge fan of. So right here, yes. So if he has a hard time sometimes offering something when I ask, I'm not going to keep yelling about it or keep, poking at him to do it. It could be maybe his only way to say, I don't understand, or I'm a little confused, or I'm really tired. Mr. B says, I would love to play with my toy, which is also known as a bowl. So if he's not feeling it for those weights for a second, he did a couple really great ones earlier, but he could be getting to the point where he's getting a little bit pooped out. So we're going to try a little bit with our lovely cot and see if we can practice a bit with going to our bed. Nice. Good job. And a feed for even just this placement. Good job, sir. So we're just creating value and going to the target spot and working a few little easy skills while on it. So right now he's just checking it out. It smells obviously like a few other friends. Nice. So I tend to, for stay, feed for when the dog is stationary. So this could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be a dog bed, though I do like to sometimes pair my stays with a dog bed or a blanket or something your babe could visually target. Yes. So right here, I'm going to feed him for that. So I'm going to see if Mr. Handsome could maybe get comfortable in maybe a down position. Nice. So I'm going to see if I can tell him to stay, and we're just going to hang out nearby. And with stay, as opposed to having one snack and then he comes forward, like the wait, this is where typically you're going to feed him several snacks for holding, let's say, a sit or a down on their spot. So this could be on the ground. This could be on a dog bed. Just trying to get him cozy. Nice. There we go. It doesn't have to be a down, but I find that a lot of times to help them build longer durations, being more comfortable in a relaxed down position, which is like on the side of the hip versus a sort of sphinx down where they can quickly jump out. This is going to help him maybe be more comfortable and therefore be able to hold it a little bit longer. So when working with the stay, I would have only said my stay one time. I normally use an open palm for stay. And then I would feed him several reps while holding this lovely down stay. He says this is exhausting, but he's loving the buffet at his lovely little table, or technically his bed. So right here, yes, such a good job. So let's say I want to end my stay. I would go back and feed him his last little rep. Then I'd say all done, or you might say finished, release, free time, whatever slogan makes sense to you guys. I don't typically feed the babes for leaving their stay because I want him to think the value is in staying there. So I might wiggle my fingers, but no snacks are given. So then we might go back onto our bed. So we can even rock it from here. Ready? We might get him to sort of sit. Nice. And I might go, he's like, oh my gosh, is there a crumb? You may have missed one. He's like, guys, it makes weird noises. So from here, we might try and get him to go into a potential down. He says, lady, I'm so unsure. He's like, how about this? That was very pretty. So if, let's say, he's a little awkward and he's like partially on it, I might go and face him this way and then help him lower. Nice. So he can be a little bit more comfortable and halfway on into a sitting position that's a little bit funny. So now we're going to tell him to stay, and I would only remind him the one time. If he breaks, which means he got up and he wiggled or he moved away, I would restart it. So again, I'm going to feed him again for some of these moments while he's in the stay. I'm just breaking up my crumbs into little tidbits, so he's just getting little morsels. So if this was really challenging, adding, like, let's say, for example, more time between each rep, I wouldn't be adding also distance, and there's plenty of distractions already going on. So I just want the handsome guy to find value in like vegging on the spot. So if, let's say, he wiggled, I might re-ask him to go into the down position, and then I would reset him up with a stay, and then see if I can hold it for another rep or so, and then make sure that he can be, comfortable with the setup. If, let's say, he was so tired and he just kept wiggling, maybe we have to be done with it, and that's okay. So I'm going to feed him one more little rep here, and I might say, all done, and then we can wiggle. No food given for the end of the game. So I want Mr. O to think the best part of stay is in the stay, we get all the paychecks. So I always think about, again, stay as in freeze tag with room service, and your babe is being fed for being stuck. If at times your stay is, what a good job, don't move, and then the next time you're like, why didn't you come when I called you? I feel that can create a lot of confusion because at one point they're being told move equals good, and then don't move equals good. So we want to make sure that we have two distinct behaviors, like we have a sit and a down, or lie down, whichever. And then you might have, for example, your wait versus stay. So that way there are two distinct options available, so there's no confusion for the beauties. Because remember, the more consistent we keep our end when we're explaining and teaching, the more likely it is going to be for making sense for them. So, but he did such a nice job. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of play for the handsome guy, and then we'll rotate through our men again. Mr. Alston says, what about me, crazy snack lady? So we're just going to quickly grab the toy. Sorry about being out of range for a minute. We'll see if we can get Mr. Handsome to do a little bit of play. He's like, yes, please. So if he's really eager, just like I mentioned earlier, careful you wild monkey, is we might get a little settle with a little sitting. If, let's say, he's very excitable, I'm going to see if I can get him, ready, to do nice. He's like, I really just want the friend. So if, let's say, he's really, really excited, I just want to go ahead and maybe see if we can get him to settle for a moment. And the moment he goes and puts all 4 feet on the floor and is a little bit softer, yes, nice. Then we can go into play. So, but I know at times it can seem like we want it to be instantly perfect. Like I want him to never touch me when he goes up. So remember that for puppies, it's so normal to use their bodies when they're trying to communicate and engage with us. So if you're not a fan of the jumping, you don't have to have them work in the sense that jumping is a reinforced behavior, but I'd ask them to do something other than the behavior. So if, let's say, jumping, I was able to ignore and then he went and picked the better skill, awesome. But if he kept jumping for another 10 minutes before he finally simmered down, then jumping was still part of that equation. So 1 or 2, and then he goes and simmers, and he goes right into a gorgeous sit, and then we play, would be perfect. But if you're finding he just keeps going, your better bet is to redirect to something you'd prefer from him. So right here, we're just going to do a little bit of play, and then we'll probably give Mr. O a little break too, because he's getting a little tired, but he loves his flirt pole. So we'll do a little bit. Nice. Good catch, sir. Greatest day ever, he says. What a good boy. So, but do keep your sessions easy and attainable. And if you're maybe not taking notes, doesn't mean they have to be extensive, but I would see, okay, like where are we doing well? What skills do we need more refinement with? You know, do they understand what the heck we're asking when we're practicing? You know, so sometimes again, gauge how your progression might be going and maybe gauge maybe what your dog or puppy might be having more struggles with behaviorally because of maybe what their age group, their genetics might be given them, their life experiences or lack thereof. He's doing a good job. But keep up the great work with Mr. O. He really is doing stellar. He's like, I finally caught the critter. But remember, if you're having struggles or some confusion, he's like, I got you, bad boy. You can always reach out. So even if you're not currently, nice check-in, if you're not currently like in a training program per se, Mr. B says, I would like to play, then you can always reach out and still have questions or concerns. That's fine. Ready? So we'll do a little find it. But we'll give our handsome Mr. O, he's like, I want to play with him forever. Well, maybe we'll leave it here for a second. We'll give you a little breather, and then we'll do a few more skills with all the men in a little bit. Ready? Want to do some find its? Oh, so smart. Good job, Mr. O.